Hello, everyone. You're here with me, Juliette Bryant, your host of Wise Women Weekdays. And we're here to have an informal chat about a subject that's close to our hearts. So I invited my good friend Gina Metcalfe on to chat today about a subject that's close to both of our hearts. Now, Gina, you've been a model for over 12 years now, haven't you?
Yeah. 12 years full time and originally started at 17 and I'm now 33. So it's been quite a long journey in this world of modelling.
So 17 plus years.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
Amazing. And
crazy.
Gina, you put up a post the other day, and it's something that we've worked together on as well. And it really got me thinking again about this subject. I mean, I think about it quite a lot. But you put up a post about body image because obviously, as a model, your body image is something that is so important, isn't it? How you portray yourself, how others see you, all the editing, all of that jazz. So, do you want to tell us a little bit about the post you put up to start with?
Yeah, I'm just remembering what I actually shared now. It was the one about how I have viewed my body, wasn't it? And
Yeah.
how modelling has impacted the way that I view my body. And that
Yeah.
very much so. If I think back to like when certainly in my early days of modeling, I think I only viewed my body as like the exterior and only thought about what it looked like to other people because that was what I was being paid for. So the way that I viewed it was it has to look a certain way. And that very much was like an ideal at the time, societal, cultural ideal of what a model should look like. Very much fitting into like a certain box, size, shape. And then also, in the ways in which I presented myself physically as well, which could be like hair, face, makeup, all of that. And yeah, I viewed myself as this exterior for such a long time, and I didn't consider that I was more than that. Um, and I feel like when it's your job to show yourself, physically, and you've got to look this certain way. It's something that's quite mentally challenging, and you might
Mm.
not realize. Certainly, when I was young, I didn't realize the impact that it could or would have on the way that I view my body, so body image. And I didn't really even know about body image. I at that back then, it was no one spoke about it so much. It's been more of a recent thing, hasn't it? But
Yeah,
yeah, I was
definitely.
sharing. Yeah,
Would you say that, being someone who's 33, that you've changed maybe the way you present yourself in the world because of modeling?
yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, I have no idea who I would be if I
I
hadn't
was
done.
about to say, what do you think it would be like? Do you think do you have any ideas of that pre-model Gina, how you were, what, if you'd be different now? I mean, obviously I know it's a hypothetical because we can't go back in time, but
It is because even before I feel like my earliest experiences of becoming aware of me as a young woman, um, again back then it was very much whether you modelled or not. It was still very much about it. I was brought up with it's about what you look like,
Mm.
and even as a young girl, I remember going to gymnastics competitions. My mum would put makeup on me. Now she would put mascara on and like makeup on me, and she always taught me that when I was growing up that she didn't feel okay without her makeup. So she wouldn't go out and peg the washing out without her makeup on because she just didn't feel her right, and she worried about what other people would think. So that as a young girl, instantly I would have taken that on as well, feeling like, okay, we have to look a certain way in order to be accepted by even your neighbours. She's
Yeah, it's mad, isn't it? I
it is
remember my mum used to always say she had to put her lipstick on. It was like and my mum was like terminally ill, she was in a wheelchair, but if someone was coming around or if someone was at the door, the first thing she'd say, get my lipstick. And she'd have she'd have to put red lipstick or like red or burgundy. She always wore like quite bright lipsticks. And I was
Wow.
like, are you nuts? Like, why do you need to put lipstick on? And it was such a kind of strange thing for me. It's like, you're in a wheelchair, like, and you want to put lipstick on? Like, why? But
Yeah,
she, again, it's like, I think the older generations, and obviously your mum isn't an older generation so much, as my mum was, but I think there is this programming of women about how we are meant to present ourselves. It's much less now, but I think the older generations coming down had this thing that they had to be turned out. They had to have their hair done, they had to, have their nails done, they had to look a certain way to fit into society's acceptable programming of what you should be.
absolutely. And it's there. It's still within me for sure. I'm not immune to it at all. I remember the first time I stopped wearing nail varnish, like as a model, and it felt like such a rebellious, but also like nerve-wracking thing to do, to not do your nails anymore. Because again, I was always told a model should make sure she's got perfectly manicured nails. She should not have any, like hairs of around her eyebrows. Like they should be plucked, and your skin should be immaculate. If you've got spots, that means that you're not really good enough to be a model. And I suffered for years with skin problems. Almost, I feel like my body was crying out to say to me, like, you're doing something against like what we're naturally meant to do, and you're not accepting us as who we are. So for years I had, like quite serious acne, and yeah, it was really tough to be a model and experience having things like that as well. But yeah,
Yeah.
body hair, all this everything that we're sort of told anyway by society, but I feel like as a model it's ramped up another level.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
because you're on view, aren't you? I guess as a model, you're um in a way on sale to the world. Not actually on sale, but you're selling your image, or the photographer is selling your image. So you have to meet a certain standard
Yeah.
to be accepted into that role, don't you?
Yeah, it's it's so crazy. I remember like thinking, oh my God, I haven't shaved my legs some days. And I would be so frightened that the photographer was going to zoom in on the pictures and judge me for not shaving my legs. Um, and felt
Yeah.
disgusting like at the time in myself, like, oh my God, you forgot to shave your legs. Like, what?
And it was probably the smallest amount of hair you couldn't even see.
Exactly, it was, yeah, it's just that tiny little bit of regrowth that I used to
Yeah.
feel like you shouldn't have, like, you should not have just that little bit. And now, I mean, certainly in winter, it's like, I just don't even bother. It's,
So it's very interesting watching with you, obviously, Gina, because you've gone on quite a journey within yourself. You are on quite a journey of, going from, model, I hope you don't mind me saying, but with lip filler to getting your lips removed, and you look so much more beautiful when with the natural, and having a lot of time where you go online, you're on Instagram and things like this without makeup, having a lot more time being you, who I think you are, the natural you. But you are also stunningly beautiful and are very photographic. So it's beautiful that you are still in that world, but you're claiming it back, it feels like, as to how you want to do it, as opposed to how men, society dictate you should do it. Is that kind of right?
absolutely, yeah, I really feel that's where I'm at currently, and I'm still in that place. So it's not like I'm on the other side of it or anything yet, but I feel like from where I was, going back to
Yeah,
thinking about that girl that worried about, a tiny little bit of hair and not having eyebrows plucked, and having to have lip fillers and all of that, like I have come a really long way. And sometimes I feel like it's good to remember and remind yourself of how far you've come, because the journey is ongoing forever, right? Um,
totally.
but yeah, it feels freeing, really freeing to allow yourself to be more of just your natural self. And
Yeah.
yeah, one of the the experiences that I remember very clearly in the last couple of years was when I'd gone red with my hair, like the copper color, and that was almost again like another shift of like, I'm not going to be this blonde, like stereotypical English, white woman anymore. Like I just want to have a total change. So again, that felt like a bit of a big saying like F you to the standards. And I went on a shoot just after I'd been to Medicine Festival. So I'd really, spent a quite a while, a few days of like connecting in with my like self, my heart, my soul. And I came back and I was like, I don't want to go on this shoot and put loads of makeup on. I don't want to turn up and now step back into that person that I'm not. So I remember showing up and I was in all the clothes that I love to wear, that I feel like me. And I just took with me what I would want to wear as that now new like embodied version. And it was just such a beautiful experience. I remember feeling like, wow, I can be me, who I truly am, and still do this job. Because, and again, you would attract a different type of clientele. It doesn't mean you're not going to attract work. It just means you're gonna attract different work.
Yes, exactly. I
Yeah.
think one of the things that I loved doing with you is when it was a few years ago now, I think it was about two and a half years ago now. And I'm 45 now. And after I hit 40, actually after it was 39 when I had my third child, couldn't shift the weight. And I was always, well, when I lived in America I was a size naught because they did, it was a different thing. I was a stick. And then I was weighed 7.5 stone until I got pregnant with my first child at 26. I was tiny, like this minuscule person. I never put on weight. I did modeling when I was in my teen years, and I did a little bit in my 20s. Not something, I did it more because I was into acting, so it was kind of that side thing.
Yeah.
But as I got older, when I had Zachary, the weight just wouldn't go, and I had to embrace that a little bit. And it wasn't because I was eating a load of junk. It was just hormonal, and it was that shift of age. And weight just doesn't leave you in the same way it does when you're younger. It really doesn't. And so I said to you, I'd love to do a photo shoot with you. And we did this really empowering photo shoot because one of the things I wanted to do was I wanted to show the world it's okay to have rolls in your belly. It's okay to have some stretch marks around your boobs. It's okay to have a little bit of cellulite around your ass. It's okay to be whoever the hell you are and to still be attractive. And I think that attraction has to come from within, though. It's not like, and I think when you radiate out that inner radiance, then people will see that. And so we did this photo shoot and it was brilliant. The photos were amazing.
They were only on my phone at that point, weren't they, as well?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
you were just starting out doing this stuff, so it was, I think I was a bit of a guinea pig.
Yeah, yeah, a beautiful one.
But it was a really empowering thing to have this these images of the camera holds so much, it can hold so much energy, so much life. And I think it's a beautiful way, it's a beautiful medium, as I'm sure you know, Gina, you've gone on to do loads of photographs, which we'll talk about in a minute, but such a beautiful medium to capture people's essence. Um, and so, for me, and it's something that I've worked with you more and more since. So Gina has, you've embarked, haven't you, on photography? Do you want to tell us a little bit about your...
Yeah, yeah. So I think it was during the last sort of few years, maybe throughout the lockdown phase, I started to, well, first of all, I started to take pictures of myself, which I'd kind of done selfies, you do selfies anyway, but through the lockdown, I mean, that was another phase that I went into, which was the OnlyFans. And actually, I realized that I could take these pictures of myself that were, in fact, really beautiful just on a phone. And so it was very freeing again and empowering to realize actually I can sort of take matters into my own hands and I can make a living doing this. But then it led into certainly I got asked by you and a couple of other women to take some pictures for them. Like they felt this calling to be in front of the camera and to feel this part of themselves that maybe they'd never really connected with before, that decided all of a sudden, like, actually I want to express myself in this way. So yeah, it started out with my phone just coming to like yours, and I think I did it for another friend as well, but I don't know if I had a camera then, or might have borrowed Leon's camera, because in the beginning I borrowed his camera as well. And I just started to feel this like call, as with you, to take some pictures of other women, and for them to feel like what the experience actually is. Because yes, there is a downside to being a model, of course, in any industry there is. And also there's this incredibly liberating side of it, that, especially if you can be who you want to be in front of the camera, and you can show up how you want to show up, wearing what you want, and it's not about you being paid by anyone or anything, it's just about what you want. And I knew that that would be something that other women would really like want, just normal women, not models, just normal women that have never experienced anything like this. And when you asked me, I was like, yes, I really want to do this. And it was also quite nerve-wracking for me to begin with, feeling like, well, actually, I have never posed, a non-model. I've never, in fact, I don't think I'd really helped many models at that point. And what I was very strongly feeling within me is that whilst I do believe posing can be great, it also can take you again into this way of hiding yourself, because you're using trickery and things to like make your body look a certain way. So there's like this fine line between it being, once again, what society wants you to look like, or tells you should look like, and then you being you. So, and I
Mm.
felt this beautiful energy from you that was like, I want to be me. I am me. I want to show. I remember we had the like baking bowl and
We had a mixing bowl to make chocolate sat at my desk.
yeah,
Nothing on with a mixing bowl.
yeah, and it was fully you, and yeah, it was beautiful to see you doing what, because that's what part of your career, hasn't it, been like making food and
Yeah.
delicious recipes. And so it was cheeky, it was like that, almost like Calendar Girls vibe, wasn't it, like fun. And yeah, I just remember seeing you light up, and I could feel from you, it was really like empowering experience.
Yeah.
um and yeah, from there really it sparked that interest within me, that I just felt this is some sort of calling for me to go this way. And then since then, I've invested in a camera, and I've done more and more professional shoots and held some like workshops with other women. I mean, I've taught some women to like how to pose if they've wanted to learn that side of it, how to be aware of lights in a studio. And then also we've gone and done like beach events and things where we've had women, frolicking in the sea, and all different ages and types of women as well, some experienced, some not at all. And it's just been
And
a
you've
wonderful.
come and done my wild women things, haven't you? It's been great. I run wild women retreats, and Gina's come on a few of them and photographed. At the end of the day, which is really beautiful. So we spend the day vibing up together,
Yeah.
doing the ceremonies, drinking the cacao, sharing, getting into our creativity, connecting to our inner goddess. And then Gina takes everyone away one at a time and has like 10-15 minutes. It's not a lot of time, but what's so remarkable is what is captured in those photos, because people feel relaxed and comfortable, so they allow themselves to come through. And I think for me, one of the things that I feel really, this kind of, it's not an urgency, but there feels like there's this urgency to, I guess, as I get older, society's things of what is attractive, it's coming into my mind more and more as my hormones shift, and society has this way of, like, you hear all these stories about the younger model, the younger version, the men ditching the women when they get into their mid 40s for the younger woman, all of these things, you're on the shelf, that get drilled into our heads. And as you get older and you change and you get more wrinkles, and your jawline changes and your stomach changes and all these things that happen to your body, we become scared as women. It's like, oh my God, I'm not going to be attractive, so no man's going to want me, or the man that I've got isn't going to want me, or woman, or who, whatever it is. You know, I'm going to be left alone. No one's going to love me anymore. And there's all these things that are drilled into us on a level. Even if you don't believe it, there's that part of you that's like, what if? What if? Shit. You know, and I'm not one who ever has really done my hair or do much makeup, or I've never been a person to you know, prescribe to that side of things. My hair usually gets washed and thrown up into a ponytail and doesn't even get brushed.
That's usually
I
me
don't own a head.
as well now. It's kind of crazy how things change.
Yeah. I don't own a hairdryer, I
Oh,
don't own straightening tongs, I don't own any of that. Part of me would like to. There's a little part, but I can't be asked, to be honest.
it's a lot of effort to be
Yeah.
a woman, and especially if you do feel to kind of do things like that. Yeah, just even doing your hair is an effort.
And it's like, why do we have to do it and men don't? Like, where is that? Where have we set this precedent? And
Yes.
it's this fear that we are going to be left alone if we don't meet a certain standard, if we don't look a certain way. And I was thinking about this the other day as I was walking, and I was thinking, why is it that the man chooses the woman? Why isn't it that the woman chooses the man? Where have we got this thing of, and obviously women can leave men and women can have affairs and all of that. I'm not saying it doesn't work that way, but where is this, where have we become so patriarchal in our whole viewpoint when we used to live in a matriarchal world where the women chose the men, the women were in charge of these things? And I'm not saying that's necessarily the right way, but it's this balance.
Yeah,
And
wow.
so
Powerful topic,
yeah,
isn't it? And I was
so,
feeling into the energy of that. Like, there's a lot there about what's changed since that era to now, and it feels very much in from my own like knowing and research is that women have been very suppressed, and that their energy, their feminine energy, which is not just for women. We know it's men and women carry both feminine and masculine, but the feminine energy of all of us has been completely, almost like for a long time, just really suppressed. Like, that doesn't matter. Don't feel your feelings, don't
yeah.
be in receivership. Just give, just push, just strive and work, and like just this outward strong energy all the time where no, we can't sustain that.
No. And even sexuality, you know, when we look at sexuality of how that's portrayed, the sexuality of women is about making yourself attractive for men.
Yeah.
You know, and obviously there's some like crossover where it's women making themselves attractive for other women, but it's like we're not making ourselves attractive for ourselves, we're doing it to pull in someone else.
Yes, I know. It's like we're using our power, and I feel this is true. We're using our magic, our power, because we have it, and we are giving it away. We're almost like extracting from our own bodies, and we are giving it away, just like, yeah, so easily. Whereas the woman is meant to be in her energy and her essence, isn't she? Almost where she allows the feminine, the energy of the male to like be drawn into her, but in this natural way, not in a way that she's going like, here I am, I have to
Exactly.
show up as this certain version of myself in order for you to see me. Like, no,
Yeah.
I mean, you've been aware of this yourself. When you are ovulating, there's an energy at ovulation that you don't even need to say anything, but you feel it. It's usually noticed. Even people that are not aware of cycles, they can see when somebody's ovulating. They just know there's a glow about them. There's something that's a
Yeah.
little more.
Pheromones.
Yeah, it's really like obvious to some people. They really pick up on it, and
Well,
at that
it's like
time,
nature, isn't it? The animals, you exude a smell. You actually exude a smell on an energetic level that's pulling people in.
yeah, yeah, it's wild, really, isn't it? So we actually don't need to try. Like, we are already, we have the power is within us. But yeah, it's
Exactly. And the more we can
sorted.
connect into that power, I think, of that fire for ourselves, the more magnetic our appearance is, regardless of our wrinkles, our rolls, any of that stuff. We come across naturally as very beautiful because we are radiating from inside. And I think that, for me, as I get older, one of the things that, Giles, my husband, calls me a bit of an exhibitionist. He's like, people always say you're always naked all over Instagram. I'm like, I'm hardly ever naked. But that's the perception, is I'm naked and I'm always talking about
You've done it
orgasms. I
once,
don't know.
it's like
Huh?
that's it, isn't it? If you've done it
I
once
know.
or twice, because it's not the norm to, especially in your work as well, it's not the norm to do that. So it's like, oh, you do it all the time.
Yeah. Someone said, "Oh, I don't know didn't know what you looked like with your clothes on." And I thought, well, I'm hardly ever. But it's the perception, as you said. So, but people perceive me as naked and masturbating or orgasming all the time. But it's actually something that I quite like the thought of. Not that that's the only perception of me, but that a woman who's getting older can still express herself and be sensual and be sexual, not to attract other people, but for herself, and can really embody that. And I think that this is where we need to go in society. We need to be allowing people, changing the way we perceive the filter of beauty.
Yeah, I fully agree with you with that. Mm.
So I'll set the way so that by the time you get to 45, you've got a while. it will be it will be the done thing. There's
Yeah,
going to be loads and loads of people, expressing themselves in their 60s, and not just the, you perceive it as just those mad, oh, that's that mad woman who's old and runs around naked. But I think we need to bring it into the norm. It's like we are born with this body, and I feel so blessed to have my body, so blessed. And it's not perfect by the society's norms, but it's perfect for me. And it's done so well. I've had 3 kids. I've breastfed for 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, like 10 years. My boobs have fed children,
wow.
and that to me is quite something. And I think I should honor that, and we should
You should.
celebrate.
Yes. I feel like that's where, going back to that, the time of like the matriarch, women were honored a lot more. We were held in high regard, and the ways in which our bodies had these, have these abilities was honored back then in a different way to what it is now. It's almost like now it's, oh yeah, you're a woman, so you have a period and you birth children. But it's like, hang on a minute. If you actually just go into the what actually happens to for that to be possible, even your menstrual cycle, for that to happen and for you to bleed every month and not die is miraculous.
Yeah,
It just
yeah,
blows my absolute mind, and I feel like that is what we've lost this knowledge, of the power of woman. And that's
yeah.
where it's just like, oh yeah, it's just made into such a flippant, like it's just nothing. It's just basically nothing, and it can be further from the truth. But nobody is, well, not nobody, but it's just not being as talked about as what I'd like anyway. Certainly, since I was discovering this
Totally.
myself, I realized how in like not informed we are, around everything, not educated about our bodies. And as we said earlier, we're very much focused, our society is focused on this external, but nobody's thinking about what's really going on this internal, plane. That, yeah, physiological functions, but also, the state of our health. We're in like a real sort of time, aren't we, of not being very healthy as humans. I know that's another
Mm,
topic together, but it's like body image has to become more than what just what we look like. It has to
yeah,
be how we
totally.
the whole spectrum of being human from the inside out.
And I think, with like, that's a really good point, with things like makeup, we can cover up the
Mhm.
truth of how we're feeling or what our health is like, because it's not being represented. And it's like, so often women, I remember when I was younger, I didn't wear much makeup, but I always wore mascara. And I remember there was a period where I stopped wearing it. And everyone was like, "Oh, you feeling okay?" And I'm like, "Yes, fine. I just don't have mascara on." And they're like, "Oh, you look so different." So we get used to seeing people in a certain way, with makeup on, and then when they don't have it, it's quite a shift for us to get used to,
Yeah.
because you're always seeing them made up. And
Yeah.
so I think if we can normalize not wearing makeup,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's such an important thing. And then we can wear it sometimes. I love putting on some makeup sometimes. It's a great thing. And you know, you can change your look or bring out the color of your eyes, or you know, and
Enhanced
it's
features like what yeah, your eyes, or might be the color of your cheeks or whatever. You can play with that, and it can be an art form, right? It's certainly
totally.
something that is also very like a creative channel for a lot of people. However, I feel like there is this, yeah, there's this, as we said earlier, there's a fine line between it being something that then's just covering up who we truly are, and of almost like a mask to avoid actually getting to know ourselves. Um,
Exactly.
and certainly that's what had been, some of my experiences of it. I just like my mum,
Yeah.
I didn't feel right for a long, long time without wearing it. But I remember you
And
saying,
it's
yeah, go
oh,
on.
sorry, you go.
I was just gonna say, I remember you.
It's also, oh, I think we've got a bit of a delay. You go and then I'll go.
I remember you saying once to me about makeup and how the way that it's made to actually the sort of reasons behind like wearing blusher is to give that flushed look, isn't it? So that we're like almost like slightly, like embarrassed or like I don't know what I forgot your words, but
The coquettish, coy kind of like, oh, hello. You know,
yeah,
it's that, and it's like the lips, the red on the lips. The
yeah,
lips represent another pair of lips, the
yeah,
clitoris, your
yeah,
vagina lips. So
yeah.
if these are red and swollen, what it's saying to people is, I am open and ready to receive you.
Wow. It's just amazing that that's the I remember you
It's
saying
incredible, isn't it?
it is because I feel as well, for me personally, I see myself with the lip fillers, and I feel there's a sexualized like feeling to my face. I can see it the way that I also must have, was feeling and expressing myself at that time was in this like, like the lips were so
Yeah.
open and puffy and like kiss me and like I'm gonna just say blowjob lips because that
Yeah.
really was what they sort of gave off that look.
But also, what they're on a subconscious level reflecting is, my pussy lips are swollen, which means I am erotically turned on and I'm ready. Because if your lips are swollen, it means that they're filled with blood, so they're ready to receive.
Wow, oh, wow, it's just
It's
blows my
mental, isn't it? These kind of things that we do. But I think, like I know people who will get up before their partners so that they can, make sure that they've got makeup on before their partners wake up, so they
yeah.
don't see them unmade, and it's like, for me, that's like a head, my screws my head, to be honest, because I'm just like, what? Like, why do they do that?
Yeah.
Does a man get up to do that? Like,
Mm.
where is this pretense that a woman has to look a certain way? It gets my blood quite riled, to be honest, that not at the women who are doing this, that they feel that this is the pressure on them,
Mhm.
or that they're not beautiful enough inside to just be who they are. And when you did a picture, with your hands on your belly, and your belly was a little bit swollen, still beautiful and petite, but a little bit more swollen, because it was that time of the month.
Yeah.
And I think that, this is a whole other subject that maybe we can do another chat with, but we'll touch
Yeah.
on it. I think our menstrual cycle, as you said, the shunning of it, and the normalizing of it, and the just get on with it attitude, which is very male, because they're not obviously going through it. If a man gets a cold, it's the end of the world. Like, I would love to see men having periods and, like, bleeding. I really would. Not that it has to be a problem. I'm very blessed because I've got a good diet. I don't get pain. But your energy levels do change, and you do need to go a bit slower, and you do need a bit more time to just, when your emotions might be a little bit more sensitive. So it's not that it has to be a painful experience, but it's a change. And, as you change through your hormones even more as you get older, it's like, oh my God, okay. And none of this is honored. None of, I think the woman's journey through all stages of life is not honored.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's like and you I think have spoken a little bit about this before, but then that next phase after our cycle is obviously then the either, it could be perimenopause or menopausal years. And again, it's like it's almost like that part of the cycle where men get, they have a lot to say about the PMS, if the woman suffers with PMS, and expressing herself in perhaps ways that she wouldn't at other times of the cycle. That I think is then in your in your menopausal or perimenopausal years can be enhanced even more, right? I hear of, some of the experiences that like women close to me have had, that they have felt, absolute rage. And it's like, is that because they've been so suppressed for so long that finally this wild woman wants to break loose, and she's like, rah, I'm here, and I'm showing up as who I fucking am.
We
Finally.
did we did a show last week on this. I spoke to Kate Brewis from Kind of Sound Radio,
Yeah.
co-presenter, and we talked about the perimenopausal and the menopausal rage, which, I'm going through perimenopause now and I'm experiencing it, and I haven't really suppressed my emotions, but there's still this rage. And I think, it's a rage at a lot of things. I think it's an ancestral rage. I think it's a rage at the suppression of the feminine. I
Yeah.
think it's, all of this that comes in. And I think,
Within us,
that's
whether
why I feel like you're doing something really good now for you and for society as well, expressing this body image side of things, and connecting into, the truth of where you are, and expressing that for others to see. I think this is such an important thing we need to do. We need to share truth, not just bullshit, um social media, falsity. We need to share this reality of where we're at, and honor and express the highs and the lows, not just all lows and not just all highs, but the truth of life.
yeah, yeah. I 100% agree, and I feel like that's what we need more, especially on these platforms that are so big now, and they're only going to continue to grow. It's like we don't actually want to see perfected people and lives, because that actually feeds the part of us that doesn't feel like we're experiencing enough, or we're enough in general. And so if we see someone that is being really real and honest about where they're at, and they're saying, "Do you know what, this is what I'm feeling right now, I feel absolutely shite, blah blah blah," and it's like, oh, it's like, thank God, I don't feel so alone in my experiences. And for a long time, I my experience as a model, I didn't wasn't aware of anything. I guess I just kept it within. And it was in those kind of lockdown phase, that those years, that a lot shifted. And I started to feel like, actually there must be a lot of models that feel how I'm feeling, and they're actually sick of having to show up in this way and being told to breathe in and hold in their breath, and that somehow was made normal. Like, I actually can't believe it now. I think, how is that being normalized? Um, and it's not just it's in all the areas of modeling, because the fashion world, we know what some of the treatment of fashion models has been like over the decades. It's been horrific. And now there's certainly a lot more acceptance for different bodies, and the body positive movement and things like that have really progressed, which is amazing. But I do feel there's still a way to go. And if we as women, and men, but if we as women, because it's a lot heavier on us, this kind of idealism of bodies. If we can show up just even 1% more vulnerable and share our experiences, we're going to light the way for so many others that just didn't even realize they needed it, and to know that they weren't alone.
Totally. And to stop using filters so much, you know, I mean, the odd filter can be fun every once in a while, but you see pictures and you think, is that actually the person, or have they
Yeah.
altered themselves? And
Have you
and and you
yourself when you do it and you see yourself filtered, and then you look at the one that's not filtered and it's really distorted, but you feel like somehow that's not as good as that, and you're comparing
yeah,
your face or your body or your whatever to that picture that's filtered. And I mean, I went through the phase of doing it for quite some time, and I look back and I think, wow, it's really not anything like me. But
well,
I
you
was,
see, you know, you can do it on Instagram and Snapchat now. I'm on Snapchat, and it was so funny because my son's away traveling, so he's on Snapchat. So I went on Snapchat, and we were doing photographs, you know, and you can put all these filters on. And I was like, I can't even do that because it just doesn't look like me. I can't. But yeah, I see photos of other people, and I see them, and I think, why? Because you're so lovely without the filter. Like, yes, if you want to put horns on, or, you know, do something stupid, great. It's fun every once in a while. I'm not saying don't have fun and, you know, we have to all have serious pictures, but it's when we start to view ourselves that that filtered version is how we should look,
Mhm.
and then start to question why we don't look like that. That to me is the worry. You know,
Yeah.
like when we have to, a photographer has to airbrush our stomach to make it even more curvy, or airbrush whatever it is, you know, the imperfections away. It creates that knowledge that we are imperfect when we are the most perfect beings in the entire world.
Yeah, yeah, I 100% agree with you. Um, there was something I was going to say that popped in and then it's gone. It might have gone. Yeah, it's gone. It's gone at the minute. It may come back.
So yeah, I think it's, you know, getting ready, getting used to, you know, taking photos without
Yeah,
filters,
yeah,
being our truth is so important, and shining that out, because when you see a photograph of someone really in their truth, in their light, it's stunning, isn't it?
absolutely. Yeah, you can, as you said earlier, it is something that comes from within that is so clear. It speaks so much louder than any amount of makeup fillers. Like I have seen it. I've seen it with people around me that are lit up from within, and it's both men and women. It's such an attractive. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's beyond the what the sort of eyes that we are told to sort of look at someone through. It just changes completely, doesn't it? And actually, your
Gina,
idea.
where oh, yeah.
Hmm?
Sorry, go,
I
you
was just
keep
going to
going,
say your
sorry.
ideals of attraction change the more you change. So what your type used to be, is in terms of what you would find attractive in a male or a female, can change as you change on this journey. As you start to feel comfortable in your natural skin, you find others so much more beautiful like that as well.
Totally.
Yeah.
Gina, you've got some amazing pictures that you've taken of people. How can they see them?
Of ones that I've been the photographer for. Like I'm
Yeah,
taking. Yeah. So I've
yeah.
recently started an Instagram, which is Sacred Femina, and it's sacred underscore Femina, which means sacred woman. And I just really loved that. That's for me is why I'm doing it, is because I want to bring that feeling back for women, that they are sacred and their bodies are sacred and they should be honored. And yeah, so I'm on Instagram, and currently that's my one platform that I'm sort of working with. May eventually, create some sort of website as well. But that's where you can find me and contact me, see some of the pictures. I will be starting to be a bit more active on that page as well. Currently just going through some business, like sort of studying and things. So yeah, that's where you can find me.
Amazing. Thank you, Gina, for your time chatting. I hope that you've enjoyed this conversation. I think we could probably talk all day. And next time, let's do it in person so we don't have the delay. Because apologies, there is a bit of a delay. That's why we were talking over each other sometimes. But yeah, let's have another chat. Let's go into maybe menstrual health more or something like that. There's so many things we could talk about. But I hope you have.
them as well. We could ask anyone to give some suggestions on things they'd like us to go more into. What topics
Yeah,
would you really like us to cover and talk about? Because that would be
definitely.
fun as well, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Amazing. So thank you everyone for listening. You've been with me, your host, Juliette Bryant. Lots of love.